the one decision you should never leave for later. Did you know that the average person makes about 35,000 decisions every day? And by the end of the day, your brain is literally too tired to make good choices, leaving you mentally drained and unproductive. This mental drain has a name: decision fatigue. It's the invisible force that saps your energy and derails your best intentions. In today's video, I'm sharing a powerful system that helped me reduce my daily decisions by 70% and break free from the cycle of procrastination. If you found yourself staring blankly at your to-do list, feeling overwhelmed by simple choices, this solution will transform your productivity. Why decision fatigue matters to your success. Have you ever wondered why you can't seem to get started on that important project, even though you really want to? Like, you've got your coffee ready, your desk is clean, you've blocked out the time, but somehow you just can't make yourself begin? Trust me, I've been there too. Your brain has a limited amount of decision-making power each day, almost exactly like a battery that drains with each choice you make. Big or small, every single decision pulls from the same mental energy reserve. And just like your phone battery, once it's drained, you're pretty much out of luck until you recharge. Most people don't realize they're using up their mental energy on hundreds of tiny, unimportant decisions before they even get to the stuff that matters. It's like spending all your money on gum and paper clips, then wondering why you can't afford groceries. I used to waste 30 minutes every morning figuring out what to wear and eat for breakfast. Precious mental energy I could have directed toward my goals. This pattern became clear in my own life a few years ago. I'd start my day with good intentions, planning to write that proposal, create my content calendar, and organize my business finances. But by 3 p.m., I'd find myself staring blankly at my computer screen, unable to decide where to begin. Instead, I'd check email for the 15th time or reorganize desk drawers, anything to avoid making more decisions. The science behind this is fascinating. Your prefrontal cortex, which handles decision-making, uses glucose faster than most other brain functions. Make too many decisions and you're essentially running on empty. Your willpower depletes, your ability to focus tanks, and your productivity drops by up to 40%. There's a famous study about judges that transformed how I understand decision-making. Researchers found that judges give harsher sentences right before lunch when they're mentally tired. That's how dramatically decision fatigue affects judgment. These highly trained professionals making life-changing decisions can't escape the effects of a depleted mental battery. This explains why you end up scrolling Instagram instead of working on your business plan by day's end. Your brain says, "Sorry, we're out of decision juice. Here's some mindless scrolling instead." The worst part? We beat ourselves up for it, thinking we lack discipline or motivation, when we're simply experiencing a biological limitation. Decision fatigue manifests in surprising ways. Maybe you snap at your partner over something trivial, or you can't decide what to eat for dinner, so you order the same takeout again. Or perhaps you postponing that important email because you can't find the right words. All classic signs your decision-making ability is exhausted. I remember one particularly draining day with back-to-back meetings, each requiring multiple decisions. By lunchtime, I found myself at the vending machine, buying chips I didn't even want, simply because I couldn't muster the energy to walk to the cafe for a healthier option. My brain simply defaulted to the easiest choice. This affects our spending habits too. Stores strategically place impulse items by the checkout because they know after making decisions throughout your shopping trip, your resistance to that candy bar is at its lowest point. The real cost is your dreams and goals. When your brain is tired, you default to the easy choice, not the right one. That feeling when you plan to work on your side business after work but end up watching Netflix? That's not laziness. Your brain is conserving its limited remaining energy. Some of the world's most successful people have figured this out. Steve Jobs with his iconic black turtleneck and Mark Zuckerberg with his gray t-shirts weren't making fashion statements. They were eliminating an entire category of daily decisions to focus their mental energy on building world-changing companies. When I tested this concept with a capsule wardrobe of just 10 interchangeable clothing items, the difference was immediate. Beyond reclaiming those 30 morning minutes, I experienced greater mental clarity throughout the day. Important work decisions became easier, and my creative output increased. The cumulative effect is staggering. Researchers estimate the average adult makes about 35,000 decisions daily. Even if most are unconscious or minor, that's thousands of opportunities for mental energy to leak away on things that don't matter. For entrepreneurs, creative professionals, and anyone whose livelihood depends on making good decisions, decision fatigue actively holds back your career and income potential. Would you tire yourself out jogging in place before running a marathon? Of course not. Yet, that's what happens when we waste decision-making power on insignificant choices before tackling important work. The cycle becomes self-reinforcing. The more depleted you are, the more likely you'll either avoid decisions altogether, hello, procrastination, or make impulsive choices you later regret. Those poor choices create more problems requiring more decisions, and the cycle continues. My clients often feel overwhelmed, convinced they need better time management, when what they really need is better decision management. Once we address the root cause, decision fatigue, their productivity naturally improves without forcing themselves to try harder. The hidden enemy draining your mental energy. What if I told you there's a silent productivity killer operating in your brain right now, and you probably blamed yourself for it yesterday? Decision fatigue works exactly like carbon monoxide, odorless, invisible, and by the time you notice the symptoms, it's already drained your most valuable mental resources. You might be thinking, okay, but how do I know if this is actually happening to me? Well, think back to yesterday afternoon. Did you find yourself staring at your computer screen, unable to decide which email to answer first? Or maybe you kept switching between tasks without actually completing any of them? That's decision fatigue in action. Decision fatigue doesn't feel like traditional exhaustion. You won't necessarily yawn or feel physically tired. Instead, your brain simply gives up and says whatever to important choices. And most of us completely misdiagnose what's happening. I experienced this firsthand during a crucial product launch last year. By 3 p.m., I found myself paralyzed over trivial decisions like email subject lines, while major strategy questions went unanswered. My team was waiting for direction, but my mental battery had completely drained without my awareness. That night, I ordered $200 of unnecessary office supplies online simply because my decision-making ability was shot. This pattern repeated for weeks until I realized what was happening. Let me show you the 3 warning signs I missed for years. Procrastinating on simple tasks that require decisions. When you have 10 emails to respond to, and even though each one takes just 2 minutes, you keep avoiding them. Your brain is signaling it's too tired to choose how to respond. Impulse shopping or snacking. After a long day, you're more likely to buy something unnecessary or grab cookies instead of a healthier option. When your decision-making battery is low, your impulse control weakens accordingly. Constantly changing your mind about small things. Bouncing between should I work on this project or that one, maybe organize my desk first. Actually check emails again. This indecision loop about trivial matters indicates your decision-making capacity is running on fumes. Each decision depletes your mental battery. Every choice you make burns through glucose and oxygen at an accelerated rate. Like a phone battery draining faster when multiple apps run simultaneously, your brain's energy reserves deplete with each decision, big or small. Research from the University of Minnesota found that shoppers who made more decisions while shopping were significantly more likely to choose the default option when presented with a final choice. This battery drain effect explains why we often take the path of least resistance when fatigued, rarely the optimal path for our goals. That's why successful people minimize unnecessary decisions. When you understand that decision-making is a limited resource, you treat it like one. It's about being strategic with your mental energy. The sneaky way decision fatigue sabotages productivity is by making you avoid important decisions entirely. When your mental battery is critically low, what's the easiest choice? No choice at all. So you postpone the big decisions that could actually move the needle in your life or career. Additionally, a depleted decision battery pushes you toward quick fixes over long-term solutions. You'll naturally gravitate toward options providing immediate relief rather than lasting benefit. That's why answering easy emails feels better than tackling that big project, even though the project creates more value long-term. A University of California study found that the average person's decision-making quality declines by up to 30% after just 3 hours of continuous choice-making. This means by lunchtime, you're operating with a significantly depleted mental battery, making decisions as if you've lost a third of your brain power. For professionals making critical decisions, this reduction could mean the difference between success and costly mistakes. I witnessed this battery drain effect with a client who solved complex problems brilliantly in the morning. By 2 p.m., the same brilliant executive would spend 20 minutes deliberating about font colors in an email. Same person, same day, just different battery levels. What can you do about this hidden enemy? First, awareness. Recognizing that decision fatigue is real is half the battle. Once you understand your brain has a limited decision-making capacity each day, you can be more intentional about how you use it. The real game changer comes when you track where your mental energy goes. This energy audit identifies which decisions drain you most. Not all decisions deplete your battery equally. Some are massive power drains, and those need targeting first. Stanford University researchers found that simply acknowledging decision fatigue and planning around it improved participants' decision quality by 27% in afternoon tests. That's a substantial improvement just from recognizing the problem and adjusting your decision-making schedule. Unlike physical exhaustion requiring rest, decision fatigue has simpler solutions. Your decision-making ability is a resource you can manage. Master this skill, and you'll accomplish more without feeling mentally drained. The Energy Audit, finding your decision drains. Your decision-making isn't just a resource. It's a resource being drained through specific leaks in your daily routine. When I finally tracked where my mental energy was actually going, I was shocked to discover the tiny recurring decisions that were bankrupting my focus without me even noticing. Here's the thing about your mental energy. Different decisions require different amounts of mental resources. The problem? Most of us have no idea which decisions are draining us the most. We're walking around with holes in our mental pockets, wondering why we feel so exhausted by 3 p.m. I learned this the hard way last year after hitting complete burnout. I was doing all the right things, getting enough sleep, eating well, even meditating, but I still couldn't focus on important work by afternoon. So I created what I now call an energy audit, a tracking system to pinpoint exactly where my mental energy was going. For 3 full days, I wrote down every single decision I made, from breakfast choices to email prioritization to text responses. Think of it like taking screenshots of your mental processes throughout the day. Next to each decision, I gave it a mental drain score from 1 to 10. With 10 being mentally exhausting and 1 being barely noticeable. The patterns completely changed how I structure my days. I was spending about 80% of my mental energy on decisions that delivered almost no value to my life or work. I was wasting my best thinking on reorganizing my to-do list multiple times a day or debating which workout to do, only to skip it entirely because I was too mentally tired to decide. The biggest revelation? It wasn't necessarily the big decisions draining me. It was the constant small choices that kept interrupting my flow throughout the day. Each tiny interruption was taxing my mental energy, and those taxes were adding up fast. To do your own energy audit, carry a small notebook or use a notes app on your phone for 3 days. Create 3 columns: decision, time, and drain score, 1 to 10. Every time you make a decision, log it with an honest mental drain score. Not how much effort you think it should take, but how much it actually takes. Look for 3 specific patterns. First, identify your high drain decisions, the ones you rated 7 or higher. These are your mental energy vampires. Second, spot decision clusters, times when you're making multiple choices rapidly. Many people experience a cluster first thing in the morning: outfit, breakfast, first task. Third, identify recurring decisions, things you decide repeatedly each day. My audit revealed I was spending significant mental energy deciding when to check email and social media. I'd tell myself, just one quick check at least 15 times daily, then debate whether to respond to messages now or later. By afternoon, I'd burned through so much decision power that I couldn't focus on important projects. Food choices were another major drain. I was deciding lunch while finishing breakfast, then changing my mind repeatedly before mealtime actually arrived. After collecting this data, organize your decisions into 3 buckets: eliminate, automate, and simplify. This framework will transform how you handle mental energy drains. For my social media checking problem, I eliminated random checking entirely. I automated by scheduling specific calendar times for email and social media. For messages requiring responses, I simplified by creating templates for common replies. The results were remarkable. Within a week, I had significantly more mental energy in the afternoons. Projects that previously felt overwhelming suddenly seemed manageable. I stopped having that awful feeling of being busy all day but accomplishing nothing important. One client discovered through her energy audit that deciding which housework to tackle each evening was mentally exhausting. She'd walk in from work and immediately start scanning her apartment for cleaning tasks, creating an endless decision loop. Her solution? She created a simple rotating schedule. Monday is bathroom day, Tuesday is kitchen day. By eliminating the daily "what should I clean" decision, she freed up mental space for things she actually cared about. Many people burn mental energy on "should I work out today" decisions. They decide and redecide multiple times, often not exercising but still paying the full mental cost. By scheduling workouts as non-negotiable appointments, they exercise more while thinking about it less. To make this easy, I've created a downloadable decision tracker for your own energy audit. It has sections for tracking decisions, rating mental drain, and identifying patterns. Plus, it helps categorize each decision for elimination, automation, or simplification. Grab it using the link in the description below. The most powerful aspect of this process is its personalization. What drains my mental energy might differ from what drains yours. The energy audit reveals your unique pattern of decision fatigue, the one decision that changes everything. You know what's weird about decision fatigue? The most expensive mental drain isn't actually a decision at all. It's what happens when you don't decide. In fact, this one decision-making habit is like having a mental energy leak that's running 24/7, and I only discovered it after tracking over 10,000 decisions across my client base. Let me tell you what I found. When I analyzed the data from all those energy audits, one pattern kept showing up again and again. The people who struggled most with decision fatigue weren't necessarily making more decisions. They were making the same decisions repeatedly. They were stuck in this loop of revisiting choices without actually resolving them. So here's the big reveal. The number one decision you should never leave for later is deciding when you'll make your decisions. When you don't schedule your decision making, you end up carrying around dozens of open mental tabs all day long, each one quietly draining your mental battery in the background. Think about that project proposal you've been meaning to finish. Every time you remember it, your brain spins up all the considerations, weighs the options again, feels the pressure, and then you think, "I'll deal with this later." That's postponing one decision while keeping all the mental processing running in the background. And you might do this 10 times a day with the same issue. I had a client named Sophia who was constantly exhausted despite not having an especially demanding job. When we did her decision audit, we found something fascinating. She was revisiting the same 5 decisions about 20 times each day. Should she look for a new apartment? When should she have that difficult conversation with her roommate? Should she sign up for that online course? Each time she thought about these questions, she'd consider the options, feel overwhelmed, and decide to think about it later. Harvard researchers call this decision procrastination, and their studies show it consumes up to 7 times more mental energy than simply making the decision once and moving forward. 7 times. That's like driving 7 miles when you only needed to go 1, just because you kept changing routes. Picture your brain like a computer. Every postponed decision is like leaving an application running in the background. it continues consuming RAM and processing power even when you're not actively using it. Eventually, your system slows to a crawl. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect, where unfinished tasks and unresolved decisions stay active in your mind, demanding attention and consuming mental resources until they're completed. The solution is surprisingly simple. Decide when you'll decide. For every significant choice in your life, put a time on your calendar specifically dedicated to making that decision, and stick to it. Until that time arrives, give yourself permission to completely drop the issue from your mind. When I implemented this with Sophia, the results were immediate. She blocked out 30 minutes every Monday to evaluate her housing situation and another 30 minutes on Wednesday to draft that conversation with her roommate. The rest of the week, whenever those thoughts popped up, she'd remind herself, I have a time scheduled to decide this, and let it go. Her energy audit scores improved by 40% in just 2 weeks. For me, content planning happens every Friday at 2 p.m. Period. I don't think about it at any other time. If a great idea comes up, I jot it down and forget about it until Friday. This change freed up enough mental energy that I increased my output by 3 additional videos per month without feeling any more tired. When the scheduled decision time actually arrives, you bring your full mental resources to it, not the scraps left over after a day of fatigue. A Princeton study showed that participants who scheduled specific decision times made choices they were 58% less likely to regret later, compared to those who made the same decisions spontaneously or repeatedly deferred them. For truly urgent matters, make the decision immediately and completely. The problem isn't making quick decisions. It's making partial decisions that keep mental processes running in the background. Scheduling your decisions is like properly closing those applications when you're not using them, freeing up resources for whatever you're focusing on right now. I recommend starting with just 3 main decision categories in your life. For me, it was content planning, Fridays at 2 p.m., business investments, first Monday of each month, and personal development choices, Sunday mornings. Everything that falls into these categories gets deferred to its proper time, and complete deferred, not just postponed while I continue to worry about it. Be strict with yourself about not revisiting these issues outside their scheduled times. This takes practice because our brains love to chew on unresolved problems. When you catch yourself slipping back into those thoughts, remind yourself, I have a time for this decision, and now is not that time. One client described it as finally closing all the tabs in my brain. Another said it felt like someone turned down the volume on the constant mental chatter. This isn't about getting more done. It's about living more fully in each moment because you're not mentally elsewhere, wrestling with decisions you're not actually making right now. Your first assignment: identify one recurring decision that you revisit throughout your day. Pick a specific 30-minute block this week when you'll make that decision once and for all. Put it on your calendar, and until then, give yourself permission the morning to drop routine that saves you from your mind. That calendar technique works wonders for big decisions, but what about all those tiny choices eating away at your mental energy every morning? You know, the what should I wear and what's for breakfast moments that seem small but add up fast. Most people try tackling decision fatigue by focusing on major choices, completely missing that it's actually those little daily decisions quietly draining their brain power before 9 a.m. even hits. Here's what I discovered after working with hundreds of clients. The most effective way to combat decision fatigue isn't rethinking how you make decisions, it's eliminating them entirely. A decision that doesn't exist can't drain your mental battery. And the easiest place to start is with those first hour of the day choices that happen when your brain should be at its freshest. I had my own revelation about this when I found myself staring at my closet one Tuesday morning for 15 minutes, completely stuck on what to wear while a major project deadline loomed. That 15 minutes of decision paralysis cost me my most productive morning hour. This experience led me to develop what I call the morning decision detox. A ridiculously simple strategy. Spend 15 minutes the night before making all your morning decisions in advance. What does a morning decision detox look like? For me, it starts around 9 p.m. when I lay out tomorrow's outfit, down to the socks and accessories. I prep my breakfast, and I write down the 3 most important tasks I need to tackle first thing. The key is being super specific. Not work on project, but write introduction section for client proposal. One client named Jamie transformed her approach completely. She created morning stations throughout her apartment. Bathroom counter with toiletries arranged in order of use, kitchen with a designated breakfast corner, work bag packed by the door, coffee mug next to the machine with grounds measured. I went from a frantic 78 minutes of constant small decisions to a smooth 31 minutes of just executing a plan, Jamie told me. That extra 47 minutes of high-energy morning time has been life-changing for my creative work. The science explains why this works so well. Researchers at Cornell University found our baseline cortisol, stress hormone, is naturally elevated by about 50% within 30 minutes of waking up. It's called the cortisol awakening response, designed to energize you. When you immediately add decision-making on top of that elevated stress state, you're starting your day in mental overdrive. Your prefrontal cortex functions best when stress levels are optimized, not maxed out. By eliminating morning decisions, you allow your brain to use that natural cortisol boost for focus and energy rather than choice-making. Think of your morning mental energy like water flowing through a pipeline. Each decision is a potential clog that restricts flow. Clear these blockages the night before, and your mental energy flows freely toward what matters most. Here are 5 key decision categories that deliver the biggest morning energy savings when eliminated. Clothes. The average person spends 11 minutes deciding what to wear each morning. That's nearly an hour every week just staring at your closet. Laying out your outfit prevents this early drain. Food. Breakfast decisions involve multiple mini choices: what to eat, how much to prepare, when to eat it. Having breakfast predetermined keeps the pipeline flowing. Priorities. The what should I work on first question combines decision-making with planning and often anxiety. Identifying your top 3 tasks beforehand preserves mental capacity. Information intake. Deciding when to check email, news, and social media creates decision loops, where you revisit the same choice repeatedly. Setting specific times eliminates this negotiation with yourself. Transitions. These when should I leave for work or when should I switch tasks decisions create time pressure. Predetermining transition points gives your day structure without ongoing decisions. Michael, a marketing agency owner, initially resisted this approach. I thought I needed flexibility in my mornings to be creative, he told me. After 2 weeks of trying the Decision Detox, he created his non-negotiable morning sequence. Predetermined actions for the first 90 minutes of each day. Now I wake up and just execute the plan. My brain stays fresh for client strategy sessions that used to leave me drained by lunch. The transformation extends beyond productivity. When I surveyed clients who implemented morning decision detox, 78% reported feeling significantly less stressed during the first half of their day, and 64% said they made better decisions in afternoon meetings. Contrary to concerns about becoming robotic, eliminating mundane decisions creates space for genuine creativity and presence. You direct your spontaneity toward things that matter. If you want to try this, start small. Choose one category, maybe clothes or breakfast, and eliminate those decisions for 3 days. Pay attention to how different your mental energy feels in the morning. Then gradually add other categories until you find your sweet spot. Batching. The time-saving decision technique. While eliminating decisions works wonders for your morning routine, what about the unavoidable choices still cluttering your day? I discovered that the way we organize these remaining decisions might be more important than eliminating them entirely. My client Sarah reclaimed 5 hours weekly with one simple calendar trick that completely transformed her productivity. Decision-making effectiveness depends heavily on arrangement, not just quantity. Consider what happens when you're deep in an important project and your phone buzzes with an email. You check it, respond, then return to your project. This seemingly harmless action forces your brain to completely shift gears. These context switches drain mental energy. When bouncing between creative work, communication, and logistics, your brain works much harder than when focusing on one category. It's exactly like changing lanes repeatedly on a highway instead of cruising straight ahead in one lane. I was guilty of this constantly. I'd check email first thing morning while brewing coffee before meetings and whenever I felt stuck. Each check involved deciding which messages to open, how to respond, what to save. By mid-afternoon, I'd checked my inbox over 20 times without finishing important responses. The solution was simple but powerful. I now batch all email decisions into 2 focused 30-minute blocks daily, 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. This change improved my workflow dramatically. I process my inbox completely during those times, and my creative work benefits from uninterrupted focus. This technique, decision batching, works because your brain operates efficiently when making similar decisions sequentially. Think of cooking a meal. Efficient chefs don't wash one vegetable, preheat the oven, wash another vegetable, set the table. They batch tasks, wash all vegetables at once, chop everything, then cook. Your brain works identically with decisions. Grouping similar choices creates mental economy of scale. The neural pathways for specific decision types stay activated, making each subsequent decision require less energy. To implement batching, first identify your main decision categories: communication, content consumption, meals, work priorities, and household management. Then assign specific times for each category. The transformation happens here. Instead of making financial decisions whenever bills arrive, create Finance Friday to handle all money choices at once. Rather than deciding meals individually, use Meal Prep Sunday to plan your week's menu in one session. My client Jenny implemented Manager Hours, 2 45-minute blocks daily when her team could get decisions. Outside those times, team members collected questions for the next session. This increased team productivity by 23% in just 1 month. Jenny said she got her brain back. The key is strict adherence. When a decision arises outside its designated time, add it to the appropriate batch and continue your current focus. This takes practice, but becomes easier as the habit forms. You're training your brain that now isn't decision time for that category. Calendar blocking effectively implements batching. Create recurring appointments for each decision category. Mine includes Content Planning Tuesday for decisions about future videos and scripts, and Household Wednesday for home-related choices from groceries to maintenance. The decision category calendar transforms vague intentions into concrete time blocks. When my Administrative Friday appears at 2 p.m., I process all administrative decisions from contracts to business systems. Pro tip: schedule your hardest decisions during peak mental energy hours. For most, this is morning, but track your patterns to identify your optimal times. Reserve low-energy periods for simple, routine decisions. Mike from our community applied context batching while juggling 2 jobs and launching a business. He dedicated entire days to decisions from just one life area. Mondays, Thursdays for his main job, Tuesdays, Fridays for his business, Wednesdays for personal matters. His stress decreased immediately, and within 3 months, his side business grew enough to quit one job. Batching works beautifully for personal decisions too. The wardrobe reset involves spending 30 minutes each season creating outfit combinations instead of daily clothing decisions. Photograph combinations you like? Create a phone album, and you've batched months of clothing decisions into half an hour. For urgent decisions, establish an urgency threshold, a clear standard for what can't wait. For me, only decisions with concrete negative consequences, if delayed, meet this threshold. Everything else waits for its proper batch time. Decision batching saves my clients 5 to 7 hours weekly from reduced context switching. The quality improvements impress even more. When making similar decisions sequentially, your brain recognizes patterns and develops shortcuts, leading to faster, better choices. Start with the decision category causing most interruptions, typically communication decisions like email and messages, before adding others. Master one category at a time for sustainable results. Automation, tools that make decisions for you. After mastering decision batching, I still found myself making the same choices over and over again. Think about it. How many times have you stood in front of your fridge, wondering what to eat, when you could have set up a system to make that choice automatically? Automation functions as a personal assistant that handles your recurring decisions without requiring conscious thought. Modern automation extends far beyond basic bill autopay systems, offering comprehensive solutions for mental energy conservation. Most people I work with are automating only about 10% of what they could be. They've set up auto pay for bills and maybe auto deposit for investments, but they continue manually deciding what to eat, where, and when to schedule routine tasks every single day. I discovered this while tracking my decisions last year. I was spending approximately 45 minutes daily figuring out what to eat for 3 meals, over 5 hours weekly just on food decisions, not including grocery shopping and meal prep time. I tested an experiment with myself and 12 clients. We committed to automating at least 3 new decision categories beyond finances. The results showed an average savings of 7.2 hours per week and a 34% decrease in perceived decision fatigue. One client, Alex, a marketing manager with 2 kids, automated family meals using a rotation system. Monday became pasta night, Tuesday taco night, and so on. She created a standard grocery list for each meal that she reused weekly. It sounds so boring, but it's actually freeing. My kids always know what to expect, and I've stopped dreading 5 p.m. when everyone asks, "What's for dinner?" Automation doesn't require complex technology. Simple systems often work best. I created decision-free zones in my life, like having identical weekday breakfasts. For lunches, I use a meal delivery service that sends 5 pre-made lunches every Monday, eliminating 20+ monthly decisions. While perhaps not perfect, these meals are healthy, taste good, and free mental bandwidth. My client Rachel automated household chores by establishing a fixed schedule: laundry on Wednesday and Saturday mornings, grocery deliveries Tuesday afternoons, bathroom cleaning Sunday evenings. This systematic approach eliminated the mental burden of constantly deciding when tasks should be completed. Digital tools amplify automation capabilities. Calendar apps with scheduling rules eliminate the need to decide when to perform recurring tasks. I use one that automatically blocks time for content planning Mondays, schedules client calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and reserves Friday afternoons for administrative work. These tools create structure without requiring ongoing mental effort. Email filters represent another powerful automation tool, redirecting messages based on predetermined criteria. Messages from clients automatically move to an urgent folder, newsletters to reading, and receipts to records, eliminating dozens of daily inbox processing decisions. The most effective automation targets decisions meeting 2 criteria: frequency, weekly or more often, and low stakes, minimal consequences for suboptimal choices. Navigation apps automatically finding the fastest commute route exemplify this principle perfectly. Implementation intentions, simple if-then rules, create automatic decision triggers for specific situations. Examples include, if it's raining, then I work from home. Or if a meeting request is less than 15 minutes, then I accept it automatically. These pre-made decisions activate without deliberation, conserving mental energy while maintaining control over outcomes. Jordan, a software developer client, created if-then rules for handling interruptions. If a coworker asks for help in person, I help immediately, but limit it to 10 minutes. If they message me online, I batch those questions for my 3 p.m. help hour. His productivity increased approximately 40% after implementing this system. Wardrobe automation yields significant benefits through systems like capsule wardrobes or outfit formulas. Some clients assign specific outfits to weekdays, completely eliminating daily clothing decisions. Subscription services for household essentials automatically deliver toilet paper, coffee, and cleaning supplies when needed, removing numerous shopping decisions monthly. The compound effect emerges when stacking multiple automation systems. My mornings now run on autopilot. Coffee maker starts automatically at 6 a.m., standard breakfast, clothes from my capsule wardrobe, and pre-scheduled calendar tasks, eliminating at least 15 decisions before 9 a.m. Automation has limitations, however. Reserve your attention for decisions that benefit from careful consideration or where preferences frequently change. Don't automate date-night choices or creative work decisions. Focus automation on areas where the mental cost of choosing exceeds the benefit of optimal selection. Begin gradually. Select one regularly draining decision category and create a simple automation system. Perhaps standardize breakfast choices or exercise timing. Establish default options that eliminate active decision-making. After several weeks, add another category. Eventually, you'll develop an ecosystem of automated decisions that dramatically reduces your daily mental load, preserving energy for truly important choices that deserve your full attention. Frameworks. Make better decisions in half the time. So you've automated the easy stuff. But let's be real. Some decisions are just too important to put on autopilot. I used to spend days agonizing over business decisions until I discovered something that changed everything. What if I told you that the most successful people in the world don't actually spend more time on important decisions? They just use frameworks that cut through the noise? After setting up my automation systems, I still face those complex decisions. Which marketing strategy to pursue, whether to hire someone, or if I should invest in that expensive course. These decisions consumed hours of my day, and I rarely felt confident in my choices afterward. I remember sitting at my desk at 11 p.m., still flip-flopping about whether to launch a new service after 2 weeks of deliberation. My mentor asked me, "Do you have a framework for making this decision, or are you just thinking in circles?" That question transformed my approach to decision-making. A decision framework is a consistent process, a mental model, that you apply to similar types of decisions. Like having a trusted recipe you follow instead of reinventing your cooking process every time. Once you master a few frameworks, you'll make better decisions in half the time. For time-sensitive choices, the 10-10-10 method works wonders. When facing any significant choice, ask yourself, how will I feel about this decision in 10 minutes? In 10 months? In 10 years? When I applied this to my service launch dilemma, the answer became clear in minutes. In 10 minutes, I'd feel nervous. In 10 months, I'd either have a new revenue stream or valuable market feedback. In 10 years, I'd regret not trying more than trying and failing. I launched the service the next day. This framework balances emotional reactions with long-term thinking. For prioritization decisions, I use the Eisenhower matrix. Create a grid with 4 quadrants: urgent and important, do it immediately; important but not urgent, schedule time; urgent but not important, delegate; and neither urgent nor important, eliminate. My client Taylor implemented this and told me, "I feel like I got back 3 hours a day just from not agonizing over my to-do list anymore." For major life decisions, like relocating or changing careers, Jeff Bezos's regret minimization framework is ideal. Project yourself to age 80 and ask which choice you're more likely to regret not taking. This focuses on what will truly matter long-term. My client Sam was paralyzed by pros and cons lists about leaving his corporate job for a startup. After introducing him to this framework, he decided in one evening. 6 months later, he called it the best career move of his life. For complex decisions with multiple moving parts, the WRAP method works brilliantly. It stands for widen your options, reality test assumptions, attain distance before deciding, and prepare to be wrong. My client Jenna used this when deciding whether to expand her retail business online. She went from overwhelmed to confidently launching her e-commerce platform in 2 weeks, starting with a small product line rather than moving her entire inventory online at once. The key insight is matching specific frameworks to specific types of decisions. I've created a framework library matching decision models to different choice categories. For career decisions, regret minimization framework. For prioritization decisions, Eisenhower matrix. For time-sensitive choices, 10-10-10 method. For team or hiring decisions, the hell yeah or no framework. For complex problems with multiple stakeholders, WRAP method. The magic happens when you stop treating each decision as unique and start recognizing patterns. Once you identify what type of decision you're facing, you simply apply the appropriate framework. No more reinventing the wheel. Lucy, a marketing director I worked with, started using this approach and shared, "I used to spend about 30% of my day just deciding things. Now I spend maybe 15%, and I'm way more confident in my choices." A University of Pennsylvania study found that executives using consistent decision frameworks were 60% more likely to make choices they still felt good about 6 months later. They weren't necessarily smarter, they just had better systems. To get started today, pick one type of decision you frequently struggle with, maybe prioritizing workload or choosing projects. Select one framework addressing that challenge and use it consistently for 2 weeks. Even an imperfect framework consistently applied beats no framework at all. I was skeptical when I first heard about decision frameworks. They seemed too simplistic for complex choices. But after implementing them, I realized that complexity often hinders good decisions.
Measuring
These frameworks
success
don't oversimplify.
Is your system
working? They clarify what matters
most.
After implementing all these strategies, I still had one nagging question. Was I actually getting more done, or just feeling like I was? That's when I discovered the missing piece that turned my vague sense of improvement into concrete proof my brain was working better. I wanted to know whether my mental energy was actually increasing. Because let's face it, how many times have you tried a new productivity hack, felt amazing for a few days, and then couldn't tell if it was working or just a placebo effect? This happened with a client of mine named Marissa. She'd implemented every strategy we'd discussed. The morning routine, decision batching, automation tools, the whole package. A month later, she told me, "I think I'm doing better, but honestly, I have no idea if this is working or if I'm just telling myself it is." That's the problem most people face. They rely on vague feelings to gauge whether their productivity systems are effective. It's like trying to lose weight without ever stepping on a scale. So I developed the Energy Decision Tracker. It's a simple 2-part system that gives you concrete data on your mental energy improvements. Daily energy score, 1-10 scale, recorded 3 times throughout your day. Weekly count of significant decisions you're making. When I tried this with skeptical clients, the results were eye-opening. Tara was convinced her new morning routine wasn't helping. Then we examined her tracker data. Her average energy score had increased from 4.2 to 6.8 in 3 weeks, meaning she could focus for longer periods and solve problems more quickly. And her weekly decision count dropped from 87 to 42. The system works because it transforms fuzzy feelings into actual numbers you can track. When you see your energy score climbing week after week, that's real progress. Here's how to implement it yourself. 1. Establish your baseline. For 1 full week, record your energy levels 3 times daily on a 1-10 scale. Be honest. A score of 1 means barely functioning, while 10 means firing on all cylinders. 2. Simultaneously count significant decisions that require real thought each day. These include accepting projects, responding to difficult emails, or planning presentations. 3. After establishing your baseline, implement one strategy at a time and track your metrics for at least 2 weeks before adding another. This methodical approach revealed fascinating patterns in my own data. The morning decision detox gave me the biggest initial energy boost. Morning scores jumped from 5.2 to 7.4, while decision batching had the most significant impact on my afternoon energy levels, raising them from 3.8 to 6.2. Decision frameworks reduced my weekly decision count by 32%. This surprised me because I assumed automation would have the biggest impact there. But frameworks made remaining decisions more efficient, preventing me from revisiting them repeatedly. Results vary considerably between individuals. Priya found automation gave her the biggest energy boost, while Marcus saw his best results from batching. There's no universal solution, which highlights why measurement matters. The tracker helps identify your peak mental energy times. Many assume they're most alert in the morning, but that's not universal. I discovered my mental energy peaks between 10 a.m. noon and 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., so I schedule important decision-making during those windows. The tracker also reveals how external factors affect your decision capacity. One client noticed her scores plummeted after lunch meetings but stayed high when she ate alone. Another saw consistently lower scores on days following less than 7 hours of sleep. You don't need to track forever. After about 2 months, you'll internalize what works for your brain and recognize early warning signs of decision fatigue. Then you can scale back to occasional check-ins. For maximum benefit, combine the tracker with a decision journal. When making significant decisions, note your energy level. Later, evaluate whether it was a good decision. After a month, look for patterns. Many clients find they make their worst choices below a certain energy threshold. The actual tracking takes less than 30 seconds each time using a simple template. Date, morning energy score, afternoon energy, evening energy score. Significant decisions today. What matters is consistency, not the tool. The payoff is substantial. Seeing actual data proving your mental energy is improving creates a powerful motivation loop. You stick with strategies because you can prove they're working. As we consider these tracking benefits, it's important to recognize that special circumstances may require adjustments to your decision management approach. Special considerations: ADHD, perfectionism, and workplace fatigue. While tracking works wonders for most people, there's actually something I haven't told you yet about decision fatigue. Some brains are literally built to struggle more with choices. If you have ADHD, perfectionist tendencies, or work in certain high-pressure environments, you're fighting an uphill battle that requires a completely different approach than what works for everyone else. I discovered this the hard way when working with my client Maya, who implemented every strategy we've discussed so far, but still felt mentally drained by midday. When she mentioned her ADHD diagnosis, everything clicked. Her brain was experiencing what neuropsychologists call executive function overload. Basically, her decision-making circuits were working overtime on even simple choices. For people with ADHD, decisions activate multiple competing thought patterns simultaneously. The ADHD brain has difficulty with working memory, prioritization, and filtering out irrelevant information. One client described it as having 17 browser tabs open in my brain, all playing different videos at full volume. This explains why standard decision fatigue solutions often fall flat for people with ADHD. The typical advice to decide quickly and move on is like telling someone with a broken leg to run faster. Their brains physically process decisions differently. Here are specialized approaches that work with ADHD neurology. Visual decision trees work by externalizing the decision-making process, reducing the load on working memory. My client Jake created a simple flowchart for his morning routine with yes, no branches, telling me I don't have to hold all the options in my head anymore. They're right there on paper. Body doubling means working alongside someone else while making decisions. The social accountability creates enough external structure to keep the ADHD brain engaged. Maya started making her weekly schedule while on a video call with a friend doing the same thing. Her decision quality improved dramatically because the presence of another person helped maintain focus. Time constraints reduced decision paralysis. The 5-minute rule, giving yourself exactly 5 minutes to make any non-critical decision with a visible timer, creates helpful pressure that mobilizes the ADHD brain's ability to hyperfocus when necessary. Perfectionism creates a different kind of decision fatigue. Where ADHD causes difficulty initiating decisions, perfectionism makes it nearly impossible to conclude them. Thomas, another client, would spend hours tweaking email responses, redesigning spreadsheets, and second-guessing project plans. Each decision spawned countless micro-decisions about whether the original choice was good enough. The most powerful strategy for perfectionists is establishing predefined, good enough standards before starting any task. Thomas started defining done for each task. Email response, done means answering the main question, checking for typos once, and hitting send within 10 minutes. This pre-commitment approach decreased his decision fatigue significantly because it removed the endless evaluation phase. Another client called this her permission slip, giving herself advance permission to stop at a reasonable point rather than pursuing an impossible ideal. Workplace environments present their own decision fatigue challenges. In high-pressure settings, the volume and consequences of decisions can quickly overwhelm even efficient decision-makers. My client Sarah, a marketing director, was making over 75 significant decisions daily, many requiring cross-department coordination. Effective workplace strategies include team decision protocols that clearly establish who makes which types of decisions. Sarah implemented a system where decisions under $500 could be made independently. Decisions between $500 and $2,000 required one level of approval, and only decisions over $2,000 needed full team input. This eliminated dozens of small but draining decisions from her daily load. Designated decision-free zones in the workday prove remarkably effective. One executive established creation hours from 9 to 11 a.m., where he would only execute previously made decisions, not make new ones. His productivity during these sessions increased by nearly 40%. Decision journals, where team members log important decisions and their reasoning reduces the need to repeatedly justify past choices. One client reported this single practice eliminated about 15 repeated conversations per week. Different personality types experience decision fatigue uniquely. Introverts often find decision-making in group settings particularly draining, while extroverts might struggle more with decisions made in isolation. For introverts, I recommend a pre-decision review, taking time to process options independently before group discussion. Extroverts benefit from thinking out loud sessions with a trusted colleague. Some people have maximizer tendencies, the need to explore every possible option. Try the top 3 rule. Consider only 3 options for any decision. Research shows satisfaction levels don't meaningfully increase with more options anyway. Whatever your particular decision-making challenge, recognize that decision fatigue isn't a personal failure. It's a neurological reality affecting different brains in different ways. By identifying your specific vulnerabilities, you can develop targeted strategies rather than beating yourself up when general approaches don't work. For high-stakes decisions, emotion regulation becomes especially important. The emotional audit technique helps. Before making any important choice, rate your emotional state from 1 to 10 and decide if you're in the right headspace. If you're above a 7, highly emotional, consider delaying until you've regained emotional balance. Your 7-day Decision Detox Challenge. Speaking of emotional balance, want to know the biggest mistake people make when trying to fix decision fatigue? They wake up super motivated on Monday, try to overhaul their entire life in one day, then wonder why they're back to their old habits by Wednesday. I've seen this pattern hundreds of times with my clients. They get all excited about fixing their decision fatigue, implement 5 strategies at once, and crash within days. What if I told you there's a way to transform your decision-making in just 1 week, with changes so small you'll barely feel them, but results so powerful they'll transform your entire day? That's exactly what my 7-day Decision Detox Challenge delivers. It's designed specifically for busy people who want real results without the overwhelm. Each day, you'll implement just one strategy, building a complete system that actually sticks. Here's how it works. On day 1, all you do is track. Use the Energy Decision Tracker to establish your baseline. Note your energy levels 3 times throughout the day and count significant decisions. My client, Vanessa, counted 97 decisions on her first tracking day and said, "I had no idea I was making so many choices. No wonder I'm exhausted by dinner time." This awareness alone changes how you see your day. Day 2 is when you implement your morning decision detox. Prepare everything the night before: clothes, breakfast, priority tasks, and when you'll check communications. Ben implemented this strategy and shared, "It's like someone turned up the clarity dial in my brain." By eliminating morning decisions, you'll start each day with more mental energy. On day 3, we move to decision batching. Choose one category of decisions to batch together based on your tracking. Michelle, a marketing manager, batched all her content approvals into 2 30-minute blocks instead of reviewing posts throughout the day. Her team got faster, more consistent feedback, and she reclaimed hours of focus time. You'll feel the compound effect as your morning efficiency now pairs with strategic batching. Day 4 is automation day. Pick one recurring decision to automate. Daniel automated his lunch decisions by preparing 5 identical containers every Sunday. Not having to think about lunch has freed up mental space I didn't even realize I was using. By this point, your mornings are smoother, your work is more focused, and daily decisions are decreasing steadily. On day 5, you'll select one decision framework for your most common complex decision. Alicia used the 10-10-10 method for social commitments and said, "I used to say yes to everything out of obligation. Now I make decisions I actually feel good about." Your decision system is now handling everything from morning routines to complex choices. Day 6 addresses your biggest energy drain, that one decision area that's uniquely challenging for you. Ryan, who struggles with ADHD, created a visual decision tree for his most confusing workflow, reducing his decision time from 45 minutes to just 10. By targeting your personal pain point, you'll experience a breakthrough that makes everything click together. Finally, on day 7, you measure your results and fine-tune your system. Compare your new tracking data to your baseline. Lisa's daily energy scores went from averaging 4.8 to 6.7, and her weekly decision count dropped from 112 to 63. She told me, "I feel like I got part of my brain back that I didn't know was missing." This final day cements your progress and shows you exactly how far you've come. The beauty of this gradual approach is that it builds sustainable habits. Each day's win motivates you for the next day. Research from University College London confirms that habit formation is most successful when new behaviors are introduced gradually, rather than all at once. I've guided over 200 clients through this challenge, with an average energy improvement of 30% in just 1 week. But what's even more impressive is the 87% retention rate after 3 months. These changes actually stick because they're tailored to your unique needs and built step by step. So here's my challenge to you. Commit to trying just the first 3 days. If you don't see a difference, you can always stop. But once you experience the mental clarity from those first few steps, you'll want to continue. Remember that success isn't about perfection. Some days you might slip back into old habits. That's completely normal. Just pick up where you left off the next day. This isn't about becoming a robot. It's about giving your brain more space for the things that truly matter to you. We've covered a lot today, but here's what I want you to remember. Consistency trumps perfection every time. The strategies only work if you actually use them, even on days when you'd rather not. Think about it. Your most meaningful goals and biggest dreams require your best mental energy, not leftovers after countless tiny choices. This system creates space for what truly matters in your life. Download the Decision Fatigue Toolkit below and start reclaiming your mental energy today. I'd love to know which strategy resonates most with you in the comments. Commit to even one technique and watch how your capacity for meaningful work transforms.